Good day to you, one and all. It is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. It's Comments Day, episode, let me check, 27 of the Comments Days, wherein I will react honestly and open-heartedly to a carefully curated selection of your comments, to include things like questions, observations, people slagging me off, you know, the usual stuff. It's going to be brilliant. Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Yeah. Obviously, I think a lot of these are going to be in relation to the Taylor Hawkins Tribute, which I'm still recovering from, basically. Spreedle asks, can we expect a video recap of the tribute concert? I was so excited to see Justin run out to sing with Brian. Thanks, Spreidel. That's a really good idea, but I'm just not in a position to do that at the moment. I feel like I'm emotionally exhausted, basically. I'm waiting for it all to sink in, really. It was an extraordinary day, and I feel like with those things, there's always a sort of slight feeling that something might go wrong at any point, but it just felt like the best people in the world were involved in organising it, making it run, and some of the artists that played there are people that I grew up listening to, and I was blown away by how great the whole thing was, really. And that Brian thing was funny. I've talked about this on the on my Twitter and on Instagram as well, because I don't think I'd ever met Brian Johnson before, but I was just standing in the wings waiting to watch the AC/DC section because I love AC/DC. And then he just tapped me on the shoulder, and I didn't realise he was standing behind me. And I turned around, and he was like, Justin, oh, how you doing? Like this. It was, you know, he was so friendly and really, really cool. And he goes, you've got to come out and sing a second verse of this. I'm not doing his accent justice because I can only really do a Yorkshire accent. He's from the northeast of England, the other side of the country from the one I'm doing. But and he goes, you've got to sing the second verse of Back in Black with me. And I was like, fuck, I can't do that, Brian. I don't know how it goes. I've never sung it before, and I'll just make a pig's ear of it. And he said, no, you've got to. Don't be shy. And he's really insisting. And then I checked in with Dave Grohl, and he said, if Brian Johnson tells you to do something, then you fucking do it. And he was right, really. So I ran out and did it. But I'd checked in with the stage manager to tell him what Brian was planning. And they were trying to get me a microphone. And they did actually get me a microphone in the end, but in the furore, I just ran out and didn't know which microphone I was supposed to take, so I just shared Brian's. And then there's a bit when him and me were doing this epic two lead singers fighting over a microphone bit, which some people thought looked a bit awkward, but he was so funny afterwards. He was saying that we should do an album of cover versions in our singing styles. Like, he described us as the new Everly Brothers and referred to me as his new cohort. So it was really, really good fun, and it was brilliant to meet him. And I thought he did a great job as well. I mean, that second verse when I was cocking it up for him, it was just like, I think it gave him a moment to really sort of gather his strength and push on, and then I just thought he smashed it. And it's brilliant to see an actual legend really kicking ass in the name of Taylor Hawkins. It was fantastic. Scott Reynolds says, you were great, Justin. You did Taylor proud. It must have been a huge honour to perform with so many greats. Can I ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, which collaboration were you most nervous about? Well, I was nervous about all of it, really. I think I got to say, when Dave initially called me, he was talking about Van Halen, and he told me which songs I'd be doing, and he told me what the ensemble for the Van Halen section would be, which is Dave Grohl on bass, Josh Freese on drums, Wolfgang Van Halen on guitar. And I was like, well, that's going to be fucking amazing. There's no way I'm turning that down. And so I just had to sort of, you know, re-familiarise myself with Hot for Teacher, and I had to learn On Fire, which was, I mean, I mostly listened to 1984. I wasn't that familiar with the stuff on the first Van Halen record. I actually thought that it might be good to ask my friend Michael Starr, who sings with Steel Panther, to do that one, or those ones, because he's just really, really great at doing the David Lee Roth vocal style. But then I sort of talked myself into doing it myself, really. It's just... it was a great chance to sort of reinterpret those songs in my own style, really. And I was looking forward especially to doing Hot for Teacher in the English style. So yeah, that just took a bit of practice, really, on my own time. And then we had one run through before the actual show with Wolfgang, and it sounded exactly like I was hoping it would, and that went really well. The thing I think I was most nervous about was the Queen one, because I know Roger and Brian pretty well. I've got to know them over the years, and but I've never actually performed live with them in that way. I've played with Brian before, and I've recorded with him as well, but it was weird to be in the rehearsal space with not being able to look at them, because it's kind of like, these are people that I've grown up with. I've got them tattooed on my hand, and I'd never actually played with the Foo Fighters before as well, so the rest of the people who were playing on that were the Foo Fighters, and I was just kind of like standing in this room with a microphone, feeling pretty discombobulated by the whole experience. And I was fiddling around trying to get my in-ear monitor mix sorted out, and nobody could hear what I was singing. And at the end of the one run through that we did in rehearsal, it was kind of like everyone was like, "Yep, that's fine," and I sort of went okay, and then left and let everybody else carry on with the rehearsals. So I was really worried about that one. There's a lot at stake, and it was a big night, big moment for me. But actually, once we did the sound check, I realised that it's going to be great, and it was great. I was really proud of it, and I thought we did it justice. So I was really nervous about all of it, but one of the most important things was to do justice to the songs that Taylor wrote, the Coattail Riders and his solo songs that I was charged with the task of fronting. His band's amazing, and they actually contacted me a few weeks ago and showed me the songs that we were planning to do, and I had a chance to prepare for them, but it was genuinely of the utmost importance that I did them justice, because the first time I performed them live would be in front of obviously a stadium full of people, but also Taylor's family, like his wife and his children, were all there, and they probably hadn't heard me sing any of those songs at that time, and the interpretations had to be accurate, and they had to be in the spirit that the original composer intended them to be in, really. And so, but I had plenty of time to prepare for that, and actually when I was rehearsing with those guys, I felt pretty comfy, because I knew that they were great and it was going to be awesome. But I was nervous about all of it. Jacko Burger with a lovely super thanks. Cheers, Jacko. Hi Justin, thanks for this great channel. If you don't mind answering, what was the mood like backstage at the Taylor Hawkins Tribute Concert? It was an awesome, emotional show. Watch the stream over here in South Africa. Oh, nice one, mate. Thanks a lot. Well, it's very difficult to describe the mood in just one sentence, really, because it was a myriad of emotions. It seemed like it was pretty fraught and quite tense when we were sort of preparing for it and rehearsing. But on the day, there was just this. We knew we were doing something fantastic. I mean, we all knew it was going to be great. So it was kind of like, wow, let's. I'll give you an example of one thing that somebody said to me. This is Josh Homme said to me that life is a collection of moments that are just hanging in the air, and sometimes you have to jump a little bit higher to grab them. which I thought was a brilliant piece of advice. And basically what he was saying was everyone's got to go and give it 100% because it's for Taylor. And all of us would prefer to have Taylor with us and not be doing that show. But as it happens, it was something that we had to do, and everybody threw themselves into it. There was so much passion and focus, and I don't know, it was just really, we knew it was great, you know. So when Dave did his speech at the beginning, everybody cried, everybody in the building. It was really powerful, and then after that, it was just like, okay, all hands on deck, let's make this special. You know, I've never been involved with anything quite like it. It was utterly amazing, beginning to end. MN says, for questions of the day, what's the experience like performing in front of a packed Wembley versus a small club? Different preparations required? Thanks. As a sub-question to this, as an artist myself, it's simple. You just need a bigger microphone. Yeah, good point, actually. I think what was interesting about Wembley was that there's a director there who was there to sort of advise the artists as to how it would read for the people who were streaming it at home, and also what it was going to look like on the screens. And I think it was somebody from Queen that sort of reminded me that actually one of the most important things is how it looks on the screens, because most of the places that you're standing in the audience in a venue that's as big as that, they're mostly looking to the screens for their experience, you know. So it's important to be aware of where the cameras are, and I think you've just got to not expect the sound to be any different, really, because a place like that's going to have great monitoring. I didn't use in-ear monitoring for the first time in a couple of years. I wanted the excitement of hearing the crowd reacting, and in all honesty, everything was so loud on stage that I didn't really get that during the songs themselves. But you can hear yourself just the same as in a club. So I think sonically, the experience of playing Wembley is pretty similar. It's just that when the song ends, you realise that there's 80 to 90,000 people all screaming, and it's brilliant. It's funny because the experience of Wembley even sort of changed my approach to the show that we did in Falkirk the day after. I just felt like, oh, okay, let's do it like it's Wembley. And I feel like maybe in some of my performances live that I've done recently has lacked some of the swagger. You know, I've probably allowed, you know, weather difficulties or poor attendance or post-COVID apathy from audiences affect me, but it didn't on Sunday, and I think that's partly because of the experience of Wembley and how it changes you as a performer. But I think it's an experience that I didn't expect to have, and as I've said earlier in this episode, it's an experience that I would actually prefer not to have, because I'd rather have Taylor with us. But I don't know. Packed Wembley. There's nothing like it. Different preparations required. I think probably some more frequent visits to the WC. Apart from that, nothing. Mirski says, and it's another super thanks. Cheers, Mirski. Hey, Justin, your personality is very similar to my best friend who passed away a couple of years ago. He and I both loved the darkness. I was going through a hard time when I came across your channel, so listening has brought me much peace and comfort. I knew he'd loved these videos too. I wanted to thank you for that. Also, your musical insight is brilliant, and it has inspired me to become a better guitar player. Do you have practice routine? Any tips for intermediate players to better understand music theory? Okay, well, I tell you what, I think one of the things that's really handy, I mean, I sometimes talk about theory, and I talk specifically, I think that my theory understanding is pretty good, but actually my vocabulary is poor, you know, so sometimes I say things that aren't the right things, but it doesn't matter because I know about the relationships of the notes, you know. So I think if you find yourself with just a simple scale like a, and then figure out how that relates to the other sort of what's the word? it's not a chord inversion, but see, this is my problem. It's the vocabulary. So then, if you sort of play this an octave up, but on the next string along, and then you figure out how the relationships and the shapes translate to the different positions on the neck, but stay in the same key. Don't confuse yourself by changing from E minor to F sharp minor or working your way up. I mean, that's handy for finger dexterity, but if it's theory that you're interested in, try and familiarize yourself completely with one key, and then all you have to do is transpose that understanding to the various other keys. So you'd start there if you want to do it in D, for example. So really, it's just find the root, find a scale, and find all the different inversions of it on the fretboard, and it will help you. It will help you to sort of appreciate how the notes relate to one another within certain keys. So just concentrate on one key. That's my advice for now. Thanks for your message, comment rather. Cheers. Ollie the Wise Man says, I have an interesting question for you, since I know you're playing some shows in New Zealand and I'm going to the one in Wellington. What are some of your favourite things about New Zealand? Well, okay, so years and years ago, we first went to New Zealand as part of the Big Day. I nearly said Big Day Off. That's what people used to call it, because it was like a touring festival. You'd have a day on, and then they'd have to move the whole stage and everything. And it would obviously, Australia and New Zealand are difficult countries to get across, so you'd end up with a lot of downtime in between while they're setting the whole thing up. But when we went to New Zealand, I think flying into Wellington is probably my most favourite thing, because you do it on a tiny little plane. It's kind of terrifying prop plane. It's very, very windy, and you feel like you're taking your life into your hands. I mean, it's probably perfectly safe, no more dangerous than any other airport, but it's really thrilling, that the experience of landing there. And then once you get in there, there's all that the airport has a load of dragons and stuff like that from Lord of the Rings, and I think one of my favourite things is the landscapery, which you recognise from Lord of the Rings, and just the fact that it's Lord of the Ringsy. Why? Because I'm a massive nerd, that's why. Joe Holiday says, hey Justin, your set with Wolfgang was great, loved it. Have you ever had a bad bout of bronchitis? Did it affect your singing? If so, how long was your recovery? Kind regards, Joe Holiday. Bronchitis used to affect my father quite a lot when he was younger, and it's never been a problem for me. I think I've got quite an unusually large vital capacity. My lungs are pretty big. I had bronchitis a couple of times as a younger man, but mostly as a singer, the thing that gets you is pharyngitis, and that's more or less just a cold, really, like a bad sore throat. There's not much you can do about it apart from wait it out. Usually kind of takes 3 days, I think, or 2 or 3 days, and you end up losing a couple of shows when you get that, and it's really annoying. But not much you can do about it, really. Thanks for your question, Joe. Matthew Becker says, whether you know it or not, Justin, but your YouTube presence has cultivated a loyal and loving audience that is not only growing in music literacy with each video, but grows as a, dare I say, family. Not the inbred dysfunctional type social media is fond of creating, but one united in a love of music, humour and snazzy weather-appropriate attire. And let me tell you with confident certainty, as a family, we are all proud as punch to see you sharing a stage with your fellow rock greats. What an age we find ourselves in. Thanks, Matthew. Well, honestly, this I've really enjoyed doing this, and I can see the community emerging around it, and I love seeing how the nature of the conversation that happens in the comments is actually about music, as opposed to anything else. And there's no obligation for me to sort of put this stuff behind what you would call a paywall, because it's just talking about music, it's brilliant, and I really love it, and I love you for it. Thanks a lot. So with that, I must now bid the super thanks folk who have supported me. Super thanks. I really appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot. So Jigs111, Memo the middling guitarist, I'm sure he's being modest with that too. CL Merker, Alicia Austin, Jacko Berger, Hugh Wright, John S3, Parfit95, Matt, New Music Jason, Gavin Kaufman, Sebastian Pizzola, Daniel Schoolar, Lucky, James Elrod, Josh Norton, Ashland Joful, Ollie the Wise Man, Will Minton, Future Space Hopper, Talia Eaton, Wendy Costello, Lorna Karimji, Indy Monos, Miaski, Michael James Gilbert, Brad Walshern, Josh McCalden, Rich Godfrey, Colin Anderson, Strange Device, Trace Slobotkin, Blues Influester, sorry, Jack Tommy, Their Wolf, Matt Griffin, Julian Nowak, Papa Mac, Barb Pascoe, Cashel O'Reilly, TC, Catherine Blaney, Reed Jorgensen, and Kern McKelvey. I appreciate all of you very much. Thanks a lot for all those super thanks comments. It's brilliant. Right, all that remains is for me to sing the last song. Oh, God, what a weekend, eh? Justin Hawkins writes again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and watch one of these 2 videos. Thanks ever so much, guys. I really love you. Cheers.